Live fine-tuning of cryptoeconomic parameters using a smart contract. What's the problem here? Cryptoeconomics is a powerful tool for global coordination. You can set incentives and penalties that automatically elicit the behaviors that a community desires. But what are the right levels for those incentives and penalties? There are a lot of design techniques and modeling techniques to get at the right levels, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to run a live parameter sweep to find out for sure? Let's take an example of Filecoin storage providers that are securing a sector on the Filecoin blockchain, a sector of data representing their hard drive. If they fail to prove that this sector exists over a certain period of time, that sector is terminated and they have to pay a penalty. That penalty is slashed from the collateral that they've staked earlier as a prerequisite to starting to get the block rewards to joining the network, all of this. So say, for example, we have 10,000 sectors. We've set the termination fee at a multiple of the daily block reward. This is what it is in the protocol now. 90 days of block rewards is what happens. That's what you pay out of your collateral deposit when your sector gets terminated. That is the only data point that we have. Wouldn't it be nice if we could see what the shape of the curve looked like? So what if there were another point on this curve where the termination fee would be less onerous? You could reduce that from 90 to 45 days of block rewards, but you would keep the same incentive, that same penalty, the same deterrent effect around 2x. But what if the curve looked like this purple curve and there was a dip down here? You could charge a slightly higher fee of 110 or 120 days of block rewards, and you would reduce the number of terminations in half. So the idea here is that the holy grail of economic research in terms of validity, in terms of causality, is a natural experiment, live in the wild of what's happening on the protocol. Getting live data in multiple parameter configurations enables a more efficient optimization of the solution space. Large multi-actor systems like Filecoin have very complex cryptoeconomics with lots of parameters. Could you enhance your coverage and understanding of the solution by trading off and shifting parameters in a net neutral way, using penalties and payments in a smart contract? How might this be done? Filecoin storage providers might opt into the smart contract by depositing some fill as a collateral. They're making a deposit and saying, not only do I have this sector here, but I want to participate in this essentially market research experiment. I want to get the coupon, the rebate. I'm going to participate in this modified set of incentives and penalties by depositing this separate piece of collateral. They would do so because the experiment is marketing and promising a net reward. That is, the statistical expected value to them is larger on average. I'm going to get more out of this. My ROI is going to be higher by participating in the experiment on average than it is if I do not participate in the experiment. What this means is the research organization conducting the experiment would need to subsidize that smart contract by depositing that net reward amount into the smart contract beforehand. Storage providers, the Filecoin miners, are then randomly assigned to one of N packages that shift those expected parameters around. So let's walk through an example. In the default case, a Filecoin sector is governed by a number of parameters. Let's pick hypothetical ones here just for illustrative purposes. The four of the main ones are the initial collateral deposit. Let's call that 100 units, 100 fill, $100, whatever you want to think about it in terms of. There's a total amount of block rewards that if that sector is online and it's proving out that the storage is available, it gets the block rewards over the period of time, the lifetime of the sector. Let's call that 200. So you deposit 100. At the end of the sector, you get that 100 deposit back. And in the meantime, you've gotten 200 units of block rewards. If you fail to keep your sector online for too long, it is considered a terminated sector, and then your collateral will get slashed. You'll get a penalty. You'll have to pay out 50 units here. And if you have a short fault, a short period of downtime, then that would be maybe 10 units. If you now are participating in the experiment, you activate your participation in the smart contract by depositing some collateral, we'll call it 20 units, into the smart contract for the experiment. And then at the end of the experiment, you would get that back in the same way that you get your initial collateral pledge for the default Filecoin sector. And you'd also get this reward. So this is now the new part, the participation reward of 20 units. And whatever that would have to be to attract people to participate in the program, that's the amount. You could try various methods to do that. All of this would result in some average expected ROI, call it X. Now, the goal is then to create your N number of treatment groups where you're going to mix all these up such that the average expected ROI is the same. Now, the reason to do this, you want a control group because you're self-selecting for storage providers who would opt into this program. And so in order to compare treatment A and treatment B against the baseline of no treatment, you really need a control group of storage providers who have opted into this experiment. You're not necessarily going to be able to go back and have a valid comparison against any old storage provider that did not opt into this experiment. The best conclusions are going to be within the confines of the experiment against treatment versus control. So treatment group A, items in red then are what you're modifying. Down at the bottom there, you see there is no participation reward. That has been moved to an increase in the initial collateral and a decrease in the block, and a corresponding increase in the block rewards, so that your net ROI comes out to the same. You can see what would happen if you changed the relationship between block reward and initial collateral. Treatment B group, you might focus on seeing what the effects are of changing termination fee and fault fee. So you increase the termination fee to try to really deter that behavior, but you've decreased the fault fee in a corresponding fashion such that the expected rate of return again is X. So these are just examples. This would need a full-fledged experimental design to see what all the various cases would be. But this is an interesting way to look at it, just to illustrate the point. So once you've done that, the smart contract then monitors the chain in order to make any relevant payouts or slashing penalties that are incremental to what's happening on the protocol. So it's as if you're getting the cryptoeconomic parameters that are in the experimental design. Once you've completed all of these sectors, then you see how many people terminate, how many fault fees you get, what the block rewards are. You can now compare all these things. You collect the data, you analyze it, and then you can go back and make any appropriate changes to the ratios, the amount of fault fees, how large is the termination fee, all of those things. And that's the end. Thank you very much.